Now that we know how Dynascape Color works, let's have a look at Dynascape Design and look at the different ways that you can create these closed areas that we need for our other objects on our drawing that aren't library figures, like our plant bed, our lawn area, our driveway, our walkway, all those other things that aren't library figures that need to have a closed area created for them. Let's open up Dynascape Design and have a look at that same drawing that we just colored. When you look at that drawing, you don't see any particularly different shapes that have been drawn here except what you normally find on a design that wasn't set up for color. The difference is when you turn all layers on, you notice that there's an additional layer that now becomes visible. It's called the color setup layer. This color setup layer has been built into all of the library figures, and that's that purple line that you see inside the figure. That purple line is what maintains the original shape of the figure when we color it. So back in color, when we colored this figure, you notice that all the original shapes highlighted. That's the color setup layer that it's finding. And Dynascape Color knows that the color setup layer is used for creating closed areas, and it automatically finds those layers even when that layer is not turned on. In fact, it's recommended that you turn that layer off in order to set your drawing up for color. So when you're ready to set it up for color, you turn it off, you save the drawing, open up in color. Even though that line is not visible, Dynascape Color will always find it. So back in Dynascape Design, what we did was we built that color setup layer into all the figures, but everything else that you wanted to color, you had to create that outline yourself on the color setup layer. So what we did on this drawing here, you can see there's a closed area that was created for the lawn area. Hit escape, you can sort of see that closed area there. There's one that was created for the plant bed area as well. You see it goes all the way around the plant bed there. There's one created for the walkway, for the driveway, and all those other areas that we wanted to color that weren't library figures. There are several modes that were created specifically for the purpose of assisting in the setup of your drawing for color. The color setup mode basically turns off all the detail, mainly your trees and your shrubs, that you don't need when you're setting your drawing up for color. Those are figures that are already colorable. You don't need to do anything with those. Basically what you need is your design elements, your shapes of your areas that you wish to apply color to, so that you can then start to create closed areas for those shapes. The color layer mode actually just shows all the things that you've created on the color setup layer. So here you see that I've created closed areas for all these different spaces and shapes that I'm going to then apply color to in Dynascape Color. There's a couple of ways that you can create those shapes, and when you're dealing with drawings where you've got a fair bit of curves to follow and things like that, it can get a little intimidating in the amount of work that you feel may need to be done. I'm going to show you several methods of creating those closed areas that will hopefully assist you in speeding up that process. I'm going to erase this closed area around my lawn area and show you the first way on how to create a closed area for that lawn. I'm going to go back to color setup mode, which basically gives me the elements that I need in order to properly trace the outline of that area. When you click on color setup or color layer mode, the default layer automatically becomes the color setup layer, which is a layer that you want to put all of your closed areas on. I'm going to go to my draw toolbox, grab my polyline tool, and choose the close polyline option. I'm going to start here at the bottom. I'm going to turn inference on, start at the bottom of my lawn area, go all the way up to the top of my property line. I'm going to zoom in a little bit, go across and select the corner of my house here, and then where my house and my plant bed intersect here. And then I'm going to, instead of trying to follow the plant bed all the way around, which is very tough to do, virtually impossible to follow it exactly, I'm going to make use of the fact that I can bend polylines by using the middle grip. I'm going to find where each curve ends, and where the curve ends is called a vertex. I know there's another vertex somewhere over here, and I'm basically going to keep scrolling around my drawing. I'm going to keep constraints off and find all the vertexes of all the curves for my plant bed so I can get an accurate outline of my lawn area along my plant bed. Once I've done that, I can then right click to end it, hit escape to get out of the polyline tool, and then I can grab the grips and bend that line out to the edge of the shape of my plant bed, so that now I've got the lawn area shape following my plant bed as well. So that's one way to create the outline of an area that you wish to color. I'm going to erase that and show you the second way. The second way is to make use of existing geometry. I'm going to go back to design mode. I'm going to turn all the layers back on. I'm going to make use of the existing geometry that I have. I've already got my property line, my house outline, my plant bed, and I've got my driveway and my sidewalk. So I can make use of that geometry by copying it outside my drawing. I turn copy on, constraints to none. I'm going to copy my plant bed. Zoom in a little bit there. I guess I should zoom in. Grab the plant bed lines here, there. Grab the outside of my driveway. Zoom in here. Grab the outside of my building, my property line, and my sidewalk. Then I'm going to move it outside, or copy it outside my drawing area. Hit escape. So I've got most of my shapes here. All I need to do is trim it out. So trim out the stuff that I don't need. I know I've got a little extra piece there. I'll trim that off. Then I'm going to draw a line across from there to there. So now I've got it closed. It's not a continuous polyline yet, which it needs to be. So it needs to be one continuous line that goes all the way around. So I can join all these lines together using the join tool. Now I'm going to revise this closed polyline to the color setup layer. So now it's on the color setup layer. If I go back to my modes, click on color setup mode, I'll see my shape that I just created and put onto that layer. And I'm going to copy this, or actually move this back onto my drawing, and there's my shape that I needed to color my lawn, to create the boundary for my lawn area. The third way would be to make use of the layering order and create simpler shapes. I've already got my plant bed shape already drawn here, so I don't actually have to follow the plant bed edge in order to create my lawn area. All I need to do is actually create a much simpler shape that actually follows the outline or even cuts across my plant bed area down to the bottom here, so that it can basically create a shape for my lawn area that can be pushed behind my plant bed area, and the plant bed will mask it, and I won't see that line that I drew across there. So I can erase this line, then redraw it, hit repaint here, redraw it on the, make sure I'm on the color setup layer. So I'm on the color setup layer, so I'll start here, go down like this, and instead of worrying about the shape, I'm going to turn close polyline on here, I'll go straight up to this corner here, and go straight up to the top there, and then I'm done. When I bring this into Dynascape Color, the first thing I should do before I go into Color is to change the mode to Color Ready mode. Color Ready mode basically turns off my patterns that I don't need, because Dynascape Color has patterns that I can use, and leaves everything on that I need to show in Dynascape Color. The color setup layer gets turned off because Dynascape Color can recognize everything on that layer, so that's not an issue. Now I save my drawing. If I go back to Dynascape Color, now I'll open that drawing up. And now I'll zoom in to show you how this worked. I'll go to my mulch and turf category here, apply the swatch to my lawn area, covers everything. I'll move it to the background. Now I grab a mulch pattern and it puts it on top. Now I obviously got to push that to the background, push this behind it again. You see how it masks the lawn area so that I've got the shape of my plant bed here still, because I've created that shape with the plant bed closed polygon that I created there.